Hello, this is My Sweet Mess, and welcome to my kitchen, where every week I make a mess trying new recipes in the pursuit of something sweet. This week I am excited to try a new to me recipe for pumpkin cupcakes with cinnamon cream cheese frosting. This recipe is from Christy over at Ranch Style Kitchen, and I'll leave the original recipe link in the show notes below. Before we start on the cupcake recipe and then the cream cheese icing recipe, let's get started with our mise en place. Mise en place is a French term which translates to putting in place or everything in its place. It's the process of preparing your ingredients and tools before you get started cooking. So what I do is take a look at my ingredient list and recipe steps before I mix anything together. I measure everything out and put the ingredients in their own bowls as opposed to measuring and dumping as I go. As life gets busy and I get distracted, mise en place has saved me more than once from questioning if I've added salt to the recipe or not. Before adding mise en place to my baking process, I definitely accidentally left salt out of a few bakes.
Oops.
And on the flip side, I've doubled the salt on a few bakes. Needless to say, I've learned the hard way to just do the mise en place, even if it means a few extra dishes at the end of the bake. On a personal note, I am so excited to try this recipe, but I'm also aware it presents its own unique challenge for me. There are two things in baking that I find particularly problematic for no other reason that I just don't like it. The first is sifting. I know that sifting ingredients has a purpose, but for me, the purpose seems to be making a big, huge mess. The second thing I do not like is powdered sugar. To me, it is the glitter of the baking world. So bear with me as I prep my mind and my countertops for what I know will be well worth it in the end. Now that my ingredients are measured out and ready to be used, let's prep our equipment. In looking at this recipe, I'll need a few bowls to mix ingredients with, as well as a muffin pan with cupcake liners. I will also need a piping bag and tip for the frosting. If you don't have a piping bag, you can cut the corner off of a plastic bag and use that, or you can just use a knife and spoon. Whatever you have will work fine. And with that, all of my ingredients are prepped and my equipment is ready, so let's get to our bake. Let's start with our dry cupcake ingredients. To begin, I will sift together the flour, sugar, light brown sugar, baking powder, pumpkin pie spice, ground cinnamon, baking soda, ground cloves, and salt into a large mixing bowl and whisk until combined. Once the dry ingredients look well combined, I'm going to just set this aside for later. Now I'll combine all of the wet cupcake ingredients. In a medium-sized bowl, I will add in the pumpkin puree, eggs, applesauce, vegetable oil, and vanilla extract. And give that a mix with the whisk. Once that looks good to me, I can move on to the next step, which is bringing everything together. I will combine our wet and dry ingredients in batches just to make sure that everything is well combined and we're not leaving any flour at the bottom of the bowl. This step makes me so excited about the cupcakes because it smells fantastic. I don't know if it's the pumpkin pie spice, the pumpkin puree, the cloves, but it smells wonderful and it is making me so excited for the end result. Once I have finished combining our wet and dry ingredients in batches, I will get our previously prepared muffin pan And I like to use a measuring cup to portion out the batter, but you can use a spoon or an ice cream scoop, whatever your preference is. With my measuring cup, I'm looking to fill each cupcake liner about 2/3 of the way full. Once all of the cupcake wells are filled, I will bake these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 22 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. Now that my cupcakes are out of the oven and cooling, let's get started on the frosting. Using either a stand mixer or an electric hand mixer on medium speed, I'll just cream together our softened cream cheese and softened butter until they are smooth and creamy, which should take about 2 minutes. Once that looks good, I will add in the cinnamon, vanilla, and salt and mix to combine. I just left the mixer on a low speed until everything looks good. Keeping on that low speed, I will slowly add in the powdered sugar. Be patient with yourself here. It's gonna get a little bit messy, but that's okay. Just work slowly, take breaks, and scrape down the edges of your bowl, and it'll all be worth it in the end.
You have got to be kidding me.
Once all the powdered sugar has been added, I'm going to crank up the mixer to medium-high and let it go for about 2 minutes. Once all of the frosting is well combined, I'll bring over my cooled cupcakes and get ready to frost. So when it came time for piping these cupcakes, I did a little research and I saw dessert person Claire Saffitz come up with this really great tip on how to fill your piping bag and frost. I'll leave a link to Claire's original video in the show notes below. So what Claire recommends doing is to flip your piping tip up and then put the piping bag in a cup, which makes it easier to fill. Unless you did what I did, which is overfilling the bag and choosing a piping tip that is too small. Cue the panic twist, shout, and turn all about while I try to figure out a solution. Here's my idea. I've got another piping bag here with a larger tip, and I'll flip the overfilled bag upside down so the opening where the filled frosting is now is essentially feeding the new piping bag frosting, which I think is gonna work. Hopefully, fingers crossed. To pipe, I'm gonna start from the center of the cupcake and slowly squeeze the piping bag to a straight line to the outside edge of the cupcake, and then continue along the outside edge, moving inward until you are back in the center. Woohoo! Just like that, I did it! And that is not too shabby for someone who is a novice with working with frosting and was a little bit nervous after my overfilled piping bag mishap. And just like that, what an emotional roller coaster these cupcakes were. From fighting powdered sugar, sifting ingredients, and having an overflowed piping bag, I have made it to the other side and these look delicious. I love all the little flecks of cinnamon that you can see in the frosting, and these smell fantastic. And I cannot wait anymore. I am going to dig in. And wowie wow, these are wonderful. So delicious with a great balance of pumpkin, cinnamon, that sweetened cream cheese, just all the way around a great cupcake. I am off to go find a glass of milk or a cup of coffee and enjoy this cupcake, and then maybe another one later. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you'll share with me what you learned in the comments below. And remember, trying new things is messy, but the end results can be pretty sweet. Have a great rest of your day. Bye now.